Hey everybody, welcome to the Patty G Show. I'm your host, Patty G. This week we are joined in by some clever cats, some really cool dudes here to help you build and help you rise to the occasion from a financial perspective. We have the owners of Rise Wealth here in the studio talking business, talking investment strategy, talking retirement planning. We're talking planes and we're talking fishing. So enjoy the show. This week we are brought to you by Lake Men's Health Center, PB&J Productions. If you haven't already, please be sure to hit the like, share, and subscribe. Help us keep promoting Baton Rouge and Louisiana. Enjoy the show. You know, and then you find like you guys that are like doing really cool stuff here in Baton Rouge too. You know, you just fly everywhere. You know,
I don't know what I do. Yeah.
Do you at least get to fly with him?
I don't. No.
What?
We need to make that
we
happen
haven't.
soon.
We got a couple clients we could probably fly to, but then again,
Do you trust his flying?
well, the thing is, Patty G, if we both go down,
I know.
who's running the ship?
That's right. Somebody's got to
You know,
be back home to turn their cash registers back on.
those clients go to Fidelity real quick. No, but
What?
it definitely could be something that we travel all over the country to go see clients, but flying would make it a lot easier.
Oh, I thought you were about to say like you fly commercial and he flies.
Well, I could do that.
Y'all
too.
take separate trips.
That could happen. Should happen.
So how did this relationship come together? Speaking of relationships, how did y'all come together to start this thing?
Yeah.
Luck of the Irish.
Luck of the Irish. Yeah. It really was luck. So the backstory to that story is I started in 2007 in the financial services business with a company called Morgan Keegan at the time. Fast forward to 2012, it got bought by Raymond James. I had an older gentleman as a partner who passed away in 2018. And I had been working with him from 07 to 18 and getting to know all the clients. And he was 40 years older than I was. And so he was retiring and in kind of the twilight stage of his career. Fast forward to 2018, he passed away. And at that point, 300 clients all over the country just needed more hands on deck. We had actually just let go of our administrative assistant. So it was just me trying to fly solo, doing all the admin and the advising, meeting with clients, doing all the follow-ups, the scheduling of appointments, answering the phone, everything. And I reached out to the management at Raymond James and complained to them that I was drowning so much. And they said, well, we'll start hunting around for some talent, maybe in the home office. Maybe somebody's been working in the home office and in a few departments that is looking to evolve from home office into the field and become a financial advisor. So at that point, our management connected me with Ryan, said, might have just the person for you, and introduced me to Ryan, flew out to St. Petersburg, Florida, where Raymond James home office is. Met Ryan, who was working at the headquarters for a few years at that time. Instantly hit it off, and he and I started talking about the business and kind of the day-to-day, what to expect, what I was needing at the time. Plus, there was some talk, at least, of the vision of where we thought it could go. But at that point, I think it was more so just about putting out the fires and being able to service the clients that were there at the time. This was in October of 2019 when I met Ryan.
Got it.
I tricked Ryan from moving from St. Pete Beach to the Baton Rouge Beach, which I don't know if you've ever been to St. Pete, but it
Not for an extensive amount of time.
Not just me, my wife too, and I hear about it every day. But
every day?
Well, every month. But
that's why I say I tricked them.
Seems like every day.
12 times a year, so just reminded, you know.
Well, the Baton Rouge Beach doesn't hold a candle to St. Pete, so
that's fair. That's fair.
But again, the people weren't the same. The food wasn't the same. But,
sure. You walk into the restaurant over there, and they're just
Wearing
like, "How
flip-flops.
dare you have someone else come and eat at my establishment here.
Yeah.
You run into the situation where you walk in, you recognize 3 people, and one of them's like, "Come down and sit and have dinner with us." And you're like, "Okay, this is
Hey,
this is
your drink's
BR."
on me. All right.
There we go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we're like, "All right, we're in."
Yeah. So that was in October of 19. Ryan made the decision to leave St. Pete and come join us here in Baton Rouge, and moved here December 31st, 2019. A month into 2020, we all remember what happened.
Yeah.
Stuff
I'm just worried
started
about the
closing down.
New Year's Eve move. Like, that's just
It wasn't that bad. I think the worst part was
dodging the fireworks down I-12.
yeah, no. You kind of picked the time to drive
Because you weren't taking I-10, that's for sure.
I flew.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
No, but the worst part about it was we moved into Perkins Row Apartments, and that was my sales pitch to my wife: is it's things to do, shops, restaurants. Let's have a grand old time.
And the pool on top of the Barnes and
Pools
Noble.
on tops of it was great. And sure enough, 2 months into it, everything shut down, and it was a ghost town. Right?
And she was like, "We could be sitting on the beach right now."
correct. Yeah. But no, it was interesting. It was a good learning experience. One, but two, it made us work even harder, and where we are today. So it was good. It was a blessing and a curse at the same time.
Yeah. You got to witness BR at like a very high moment, and then all of a sudden just fall off the map.
Yeah, I mean, we were told, which I already knew, but she was told St. Patty's Day, Mardi Gras, all these things are going to be, there's so much to do.
Right.
And there was nothing. Right.
Yeah.
So
And then when there's nothing here, there's nothing here.
There's nothing here.
Right.
Yeah. You're looking for the first flight out to Florida.
And then there are none. And you're stuck.
Unless you got a private, plane over here.
Yeah. But then over time it warms. You warm up to it, right? You start seeing the people get stir crazy, and I think allegedly in BR it only lasted for really 60 days,
if that.
if that.
Then we opted out. We're like, we're not doing this anymore.
Yeah. We're like, we're okay. Laissez-faire roulette. Like, we'll be fine. Let's just roll through with it. So anyway, so you start this at the cusp of, you come into it at the cusp of COVID, but I want to kind of back up a little bit more and discuss the relationship between Rise Wealth and Raymond James and how all that works. Because when people hear it, it's like, well, wait, are you them? Are you not them? Like, what's this? So walk us through the technicality there first.
The best way to describe it, I think, is how you think of a real estate team that's working with a national real estate brokerage firm, but perhaps has their own team, but affiliated with that larger brand.
Okay.
And that's us. So Rise Wealth is a team that formed underneath the umbrella of Raymond James. So we're affiliated with Raymond James in a corporate sense, meaning that they handle all of our trading and clearing of securities, accounting. They handle coordinating the office space, virtually everything, so that our team can just focus on our clients and servicing our clients, providing advice, meeting with clients. And so now we pay a certain percentage of every dollar of revenue that we earn back to the mothership, back to the company, for that privilege. And Raymond James is unique. They have several different channels in which you could affiliate with them, and each one has a different cost structure to it. But for us, thus far, the current structure is, I think, the optimal one, although we have explored the others, and I think we'll probably always explore that just to make sure that we're continuing to do the optimal thing. But the economics are very different with the different channels and the different affiliations. So you have to make sure that it really works, not only for your clients, but for your business.
Yeah.
I mean, you are your own team within a big umbrella of a corporate America, right? So the typical team you'll hear is Smith and Barney Wealth Management, right? You'll hear 2 last names with partners, and then kind of like an attorney or law firm or CPA firm, right? And we decided to cut out the names completely. And Rise Wealth was 2019 or 2020. We decided to rename it completely because the team is going to continuously grow, and so is our business, and so are our clients, right? We want the mindset of everything is going to rise. Unfortunately, I'm saying that with the market down, but we want the mindset of the business and everything to rise over time, right? So being your own business within a big firm, it's nice because we don't have a firm who's calling our clients. We control all of that, but we get to separate that on our own, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So they handle all the logistical items that are a nightmare.
Yeah.
To be done by two folks.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Exactly.
You know, so you've got your desk of traders and your desk of accountants that say, hey, you prepare the 1099s, you actually execute the trades. We're just going to talk and tell you what to do. So it makes it simpler in that sense.
Yeah.
Where they handle all the heavy administrative work and y'all are able to actually execute on your knowledge and your expertise.
Yep.
Makes sense.
Yep.
Okay. So y'all have gotten this relationship developed, and then COVID hits. I'm curious as to what you do at such an early stage. For you, you're walking into something brand new, whereas you're like, we've got, you see the mountains that you've got to overcome from a work standpoint, but then you're like, I've uprooted my life to a whole new environment, and then now it's all gone. So like, you've got totally different perspectives going into COVID. How did that impact the two of you?
For me, it was, let's hit the ground running. There was no roadblock. It was kind of just an opportunity. If I backtrack a little bit, my previous job at home office, the mothership in St. Petersburg, where people actually go to retire, by the way. I just want to throw that out there.
You weren't ready to retire.
Just reminding them.
You weren't ready to retire.
But I was living
where
there.
people come to work.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
So my job at that time was to help advisors and teams find the right strategies for clients. And essentially my clients were the advisors. So coming out on the other side of it, it wasn't like it was a completely different ballgame. It was more so just have a conversation with them and see if it's a good fit or not. So it was more of an opportunity for me to just hit the ground running. And the conversations were a lot easier, as you could imagine, with clients who don't necessarily have the same knowledge as financial advisors, right? With all the exams they have to pass and the knowledge of the tenure that they have. And it was just easier to talk to them, and being able to turn it on whenever you needed to, or turn it off and just have a plain and simple conversation. It was way easier than I anticipated. So it was more of an opportunity for us to just get in front of clients, or have, the nice thing about our job and the Bush brothers who you've talked to before, we can do our job anywhere in the world as long as we have internet, a cell phone, and a computer, right? So COVID, the pandemic, didn't stop us from working. It was more of an opportunity to take advantage of what the market was doing, right? So it was fun. I hate that, it sounds weird to say that, but it was fun.
Yeah.
Right. And now you have a correction where we're at, and it's like, okay, how do we take advantage of this? Right. But most people that would come into that position, they would be overwhelmed because they just start seeing it, drop 35% in 15 days. I mean, you couldn't go to the bathroom and come back and it was, back up. And sure enough, it was, we didn't even blink our eyes. And next thing you notice, business is back to where it was. Mm-hmm. So it was pretty fun, to say the least.
And Ryan's a quick study, and he knew, he was already licensed, and he knew from his previous job in asset management services at Raymond James headquarters, he knew the investment strategies that worked well. He knew which ones didn't work well. He knew which ones were the most appropriate for certain types of clients, certain situations, pre-retired, retired, looking for income, looking for preservation of capital versus looking for aggressive growth. He knew which investment strategy was from which. He knew which ones were good versus which ones to stay away from. And so whenever he joined on, he immediately added value because we started meeting with our longtime clients. And we're very fortunate that a lot of our clients, most of our clients have been with us for so long. They're like family. They're like friends. And we have conversations that way. our conversations, we meet with every client at least 2 times a year. We kind of call ourselves jokingly the dental office of financial planning. Like twice
every
a year,
6 months. That's it.
Except you want to hear from us. Yeah.
That's right. We're not rooting around in your mouth or anything, but we are looking for cavities, financial cavities. But it was easy. It was an easy conversation. In inserting Ryan into the mix, Ryan, like I said, is a very quick study and he really knows his stuff. And so he was able to speak and really provide advice day one to clients in a time where clients, everybody, not just financial clients, but we were all in this mode of what the heck's going on? This is COVID. And in March, April, May of 2020, there hadn't even been enough time that had gone by yet with COVID for anybody to really know what the outcome might even begin to look like. Mm-hmm. And at that point, we didn't know anything about a vaccine. We didn't know when the return to work was going to happen. We didn't know when toilet paper was going to be back on the shelves. So a lot of our clients, of course, are watching the markets in upheaval. The Dow dropped from peak to trough 34% in less than a month. I mean, that's a dramatic move for the market. And so clients were in a mode of worry and panic, and not only for their lives, but for their financial lives as well. And so it was an opportunity for us to be able to serve clients in a desperate time, in a very uncertain time. And one of the most effective ways that I think we did that, and I think we did a good job of this, if I can brag on ourselves, is even though the global pandemic was, a once in maybe at that point 100 years, I think the previous pandemic was the flu pandemic of 1913 or somewhere right around there. So, 100 years had gone by before the country had seen a pandemic. But what we did have to base things on to give people some level of comparison with what was going on in the market, at least in the economy, was we would look back at historic periods of extreme volatility, of extreme economic hardship, recessions, depressions, major events that happened in our country that threw things out of whack for a long time. The dot-com burst of 2000, 9/11 a year later, the financial crisis in 2008. I mean, those were just in the last 25 years. I mean, we could go back 100 years and click off, there was a president that resigned. I mean, there's been some major things that have happened that led to temporary but violent distortions in the market. And so when we would go back and study those time frames, and what we found was, and this is where I think we provided good advice to our clients and provided some level of peace, is even though the cause of the market downturn, the cause of the economic decline was unique to whatever was going on in those particular time frames, the effect was the same. The effect was the exact same. And that was that the market declined temporarily, violently, but temporarily, before it inevitably resumed its recovery and then reached a new high water mark. And I think that gave clients some hope. Okay, yeah, we have gone through some terrible things in the past, these depressions, recessions, different type of economic environments, but we got through it. And I think the machine that is American capitalism really cannot be stopped, because what America does is it works the problem and it figures it out. It adapts and overcomes. We have companies that are the largest companies in the world, headquartered in the United States, led by the smartest people in the world. They've been through all this stuff before. And even though the cause of a downturn might be unique to the crisis of the day or the crisis of the year, the effect is the same: temporary distortions in markets. Our job, and this is where we earn our fees, is reminding clients that they're perfectly normal for being fearful in those times, But our job is to prevent clients from acting on that fear. Don't abandon your plan in the middle of the storm, because more than likely you're closer to being out of it than you might think. So our job is to really coach them, give them confidence, give them hope that things are not only are you going to make it through this, but you're going to make it through it, and you're going to get to the best point that you can.
So some people do refer to us as financial counselors, right? And if you think of financial advisor from back in the day, what was it? It was a stock picker, right? But when you have volatility like this, and going back to when I said it was an opportunity in the pandemic, it was an opportunity because clients' emotions get involved when there's uncertainty. If we can call them, like your dental office, they want to hear from you at that point in time. So the more face time you could get, for me as a new advisor, the more face time I could get, the better off I was, right? If I could get through that tough time, it built trust in saying, we're going to be okay. So as a financial counselor at that time, you're more so listening to, what are you concerned about? And it's not, hey, this stock's not doing well, it's down 30%, we need to get out of it, right? Back in the day, that's what they did. Now it's kind of evolved into more emotional counseling around finances, but also sticking to a plan. I know, again, I'm referring back to the Bush brothers because they did a good job at saying the financial plan, and their book is great at it too. It is the biggest factor to financial success. And times like we're having today, or this year, if you don't have a plan, you're going to be on a rocky road. But if you have a plan, it's okay. We know this is going to happen, right? Most people forget their accounts are still positive from 2 years ago, but they tend to get
as positive.
Not as positive. Right.
A little less positive.
Right.
Still positive.
It's not as positive.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, I mean, just like my view at home isn't as positive as it was in St. Petersburg, Florida, right?
Oh, come on now.
Well,
I'm kidding.
Now.
I'm kidding. No, but it is very interesting, and it, you know, the market moves, our industry moves in kind of seasonal waves. But when things like this happen, you turn more of a financial counselor,
Right.
and less decision making, or, you know. But it also reminds us: are we doing the right thing for our clients? Are they doing okay? Is their plan in place to handle this? Right. So it's a good reminder for us to take a step back and say, everything we're recommending, is this working not only in good times but bad times, right? Because that's what clients want to know. So it is interesting, but that was why it was an opportunity, because when there's uncertainty, they want to hear from you. And for me as a new person coming into it, if they want to hear from us, absolutely, right? Whether the pandemic's happening or not, I'll jump on a phone call with you tomorrow, or Zoom, as that took off.
Yeah, I mean, it's real easy. Just put on a shirt and a jacket.
Yeah.
You know, don't worry about the pants.
Right. Yeah. It's the best thing COVID did.
You don't got to get halfway dressed.
Yeah.
Just don't stand up like some of those folks did. You know, you just keep in the chair. All right, good. See you. Like, all right, you make sure all right, we're off. Okay. You know, but it's, you know, it's true. In times of uncertainty, you want to be spoken to or spoken with. You know, you want to have a conversation with somebody to say, am I thinking outside of the box in terms of this actually coming back to normal, or you know, am I just with everyone else? And you say, you know, here's the plan. Like, let's reiterate the plan, right? And then you, to your point, you point back to the historical references. Here's when it's happened in the past.
Yeah.
Again, what influenced it wasn't the same, but the outcome was the same.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, you know, now I have to challenge the both of you, because you've just dogged BR this entire time.
I love Baton Rouge. There's a reason why I'm here.
But that's what we want to hear,
a reason
right?
why I'm here.
So you say you can do your job from anywhere. You've got people of influence across the country, across the world, in which you help service as clients. Why are you still operating your office here in BR and not back on the nice little beaches that Florida allegedly says?
Good question. Really good question. Because, again, the tenure one, I don't have the tenure of being around for 20, 30 years. to where I'm slowly phasing out. I want to be as present as possible. And if I'm around and a client randomly calls and says, "Hey, I'm running this document up to you," I want to be around for it. It's more of a mindset. You can do it, don't get me wrong, but more of a mindset and face to face. I don't know about y'all, but during the pandemic with the Zoom meetings, referring back to that, it was fine, but I prefer face to face. One, you can really tell if a client is understanding what you're saying in person or not. And between us, we like to go to clients' homes because it gives them more of a sigh of relief. They're not in a stuck-up office with a bunch of suits, and you get to learn more about the client and the family when you're in their home. And you can't do that if you're in Florida, right? Not to say that we don't get an opportunity to go back to Florida because our home office mothership is out there and there's opportunities to go back all the time. But, and my in-laws live out there, so we're every Christmas. But
it sounds so terrible.
It's terrible. Christmas and flip-flops.
Christmas and flip-flops.
It's terrible,
man.
Yeah, Christmas Day there's a golf tournament every year for us, but I don't know how it is out here in Baton Rouge for you guys, but
it depends on the year. Some years it could be a golf tournament.
Yeah.
Some years it could be figuring out how to get around in snow.
Right.
You never can tell.
Know.
That's the excitement.
Oh, Mother Nature. No, it's definitely possible, but I think for me personally, just having that face to face and again where we're currently at, I want to be around to be able to answer these calls and say, let's meet for lunch. Right. Or if you run into somebody at a restaurant, if they have a question, answer it right then and there. If I'm in Florida, they're not going to see me. They're going to say, it's just like having somebody at Fidelity or calling a 1-800 number. Right. And people like, especially in Baton Rouge, as the relationships, they like to have somebody local. And that's primarily why I'm sticking around.
I think on the heels of that, I think there has to be a lot said and credit given for the people of Louisiana. And we travel around. Fortunately, we're very blessed to have clients in 14 different states from California to Massachusetts. So we get to travel around and see people on their turf, go to their homes, see what pictures are on their mantles. And whenever we come back here, I think that there is a noticeable difference in the culture of our people in Louisiana. And I think you have to give credit to that because it's resiliency, it's scrappiness, it's whether it's rebuilding after hurricanes, whatever the issue is, there is just a tough mentality down here. And how that translates into business and where we see that as financial advisors for some of these folks here is there's a lot of millionaire next door type of folks. There's folks who you would never necessarily think are high net worth, but they've just been plugging away, being an electrician, being a plumber, being a welder, being a consultant, being an attorney, being an accountant, being a physician for 30, 40, 50 years, dealing with things, handling things. And when things break, they just figure out a way how to fix it. They grow, they adapt, they overcome. And there's just something about that scrappiness in Louisianians that I just love. And I think you see a lot of that in their financial lives. I think you see a lot of those folks who took risks starting out their own business early on. And maybe it was a rocky start. Maybe it took them 10 years or so to hit their stride, but they didn't give up. And I think a lot of folks have that type of story where it was just blood, sweat, and tears. The kind of the basic ingredients of entrepreneurism is blood, sweat, and tears and not giving up. And we see a lot of that in our clients who are business owners. And in that list of folks who I mentioned, we see a lot of those traits and qualities. And it really is cool because that really, I've seen it, at least I know Ryan has, those traits transfer over to their financial habits. And you see people accumulate wealth over the course of their working careers just out of scrappiness and pulling up their boots and rolling up their sleeves and going at it and working. And they look up when they're 60 plus years old and they've accumulated all this wealth, and without really perhaps even really intending to, they were just working. And I think there's just a lot of admiration that I have for those types of traits. I mentioned the phrase, the millionaire next door. And we see that a lot. We have a lot of that in Louisiana. I like to say all of our clients are millionaires now that they're with us. And people say, what were they before? Billionaires. But they're millionaire next door.
Thanks, Matt.
Just a bad joke. Bad down market joke. We can edit that right out.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll just bleep over it,
Oh, yeah.
Thank you to our wonderful sponsor, Lake Men's Health Center with Our Lady of the Lake Physicians Group. Guys, I know it's tough to get out and go to the doctor. I know it's challenging to find time in our busy days, but I promise you, signing up to be a part of this group with Dr. Curtis Chastain and Dr. Tyler Boudreau, you won't regret it for several reasons, but most of those being the fact of the time it saves, where you're able to get in on the same day, get that appointment done, and spend that time you need to talk with them about what your health goals and concerns are, as well as ensuring that the financial investments you have, you will be able to live out and see those come to fruition. So if you're an investing guy, you know all about and planning for the future and investing in the future. There's no other more important thing to invest in than your health. Make sure you go check them out. Our Lady of the Lake Physicians Group Men's Health Center, and tell them Patty G sent you.
Rise Wealth, the once was.
Used to rise well.
Used to rise, yeah. No, he makes a great point. And, I can honestly say, being from other locations, growing up in the Las Vegas area, coming to LSU for college, and then going to Florida, living in bigger cities, and I still have some clients in those cities, they don't appreciate the value we're able to bring as much as Louisianians. And that is in itself, it makes you really enjoy what you do. Because if you can, a simple thing as far as finding a client a new car that another client's selling, right? If you're able to put that together for them, which financially you're able, to decide if it makes sense for the client or not, you're adding value, even though it has nothing to do with the stocks, bonds, or cash. So we joke around all the time and say our clients have an extension to all of our other clients, right? We have a big network or a spider web full of clients that if we have a doctor and you need something, we're going to refer you to them, right? And we've seen it play out so many times to where they're able to help each other out. And for us, it's almost like a warm-hearted feeling seeing that, because it is one big family. But if you're in Houston, Texas, or Las Vegas, or New York, I promise you that doesn't happen, right? So that alone is, again, the people are why I stick in Baton Rouge. And I love Baton Rouge. I joke around, I dog it, my wife dogs, but we love Baton Rouge. And that is why. It's just the appreciation people have for what you can do for them. And it makes you feel good about what you do.
Yeah. When the immediacy of the impact when you do something, right?
Yeah.
In a Houston market or a bigger market where you're just one of many.
Yeah.
You could do one thing and you may have somebody recognize it, right? In turn, in Baton Rouge, you do one thing, you're going to hear about it from 10 different people. Like, oh,
correct.
You do this, oh, you do that, oh, you know this person, oh, you know that person. Like, it's insane of how connected everybody is.
Yeah. Where
you can walk into a restaurant and see half a dozen people that you know.
Yeah.
And go say hello and have that, that Southern hospitality.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you're in a bigger market, you can walk in and be like, oh, that's so-and-so. And you're, be like, well, go say hello. I don't want to disturb what they've got going on. Where it's here, whether we see the Southern hospitality, you're like, oh, hey, see, you're enjoying dinner with the family. Great to see you and everything. Where other markets, it's like, no, I'm enjoying dinner with the family.
Yeah.
Like, don't come talk to me. But here it's like, no. Like, we're all a big, happy family.
Yeah.
we're all like just open and saying hello, seeing one another, interacting with one another wherever we are, that you don't get that everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like everybody's not a stranger. And
right.
I got a funny story to say that, being in Louisiana for the time I have, it honestly has built confidence just to talk to random people because you feel like anybody can be a friend. And we were in Destin, Florida one year for a bachelor party at a golf course out there. And I saw a guy, I was like, he looks just like Morris Bart. Anybody tell you look like Morris Bart? I am Morris Bart. Like, right.
Perfect. You look like him.
And we all just started talking to him and had a great conversation. But again, to your point, if that's in a big city, you're just going to, talk to your friend over your shoulder and you point and never go up.
Right.
But knowing if it could be that person you think it is, we're going to have a conversation. Yeah. Right. And it honestly has built confidence. And you see that in a lot of younger generations is they have no problem talking to a stranger. Right. In bigger cities, you have to push them to talk to a stranger.
Yeah. My 3-year-old's spitting image of that. He walks up to anybody and just tells them his full name. Like, I'm just like, all right, buddy. You're rocking.
Yeah.
Keep doing you. I don't know what
you got a future on this podcast.
Yeah, but you're gonna come sit in my chair 1 year, and just take it over for me. But it's very true, and it's just what they see growing up are their parents, their family members, their friends' parents interacting in a way that's just so free and so open. And you don't oftentimes walk into a room where you kind of feel off put, where people are like, no, don't talk to me or don't interact with me. It's everybody wants to interact with everybody.
Yeah.
Whether it's through shared circumstances like Mardi Gras or shared circumstances like a flood. Yeah. We all band together and figure out how we can help one another. And then that just sticks with you, right? It sticks with us here. If you've done something for somebody, they're going to remember it for years to come.
So true. Yeah, it's one of the best qualities, I think, of the folks down here. And it's hard to replicate that in other places. So yeah, it's certainly a big reason why we want to continue to operate here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So what made y'all want to go down this path in life?
Great question. You want to hit it?
I think you've got the more interesting story.
Oh man. Being born and raised in Las Vegas.
The odds are never in your favor.
Well, I never was a gambler, right? And I joke around with clients, and I being from Vegas, I don't gamble, and I will never gamble with your money. But I've seen how big cities are essentially traps, right? We'll use Las Vegas for example. You can get sucked into the hospitality industry or the night, entertainment. And next thing you know, you wake up, you're 50 years old, and what happened? And you're making the same amount of money, you're doing the same vacations, just waking up trying to get by. And I knew I wanted more. So getting out of there was my biggest goal. And coming to LSU was probably the best thing I've ever done in my life. Met new people, started from scratch. And I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to do something that helped people. And if I could make money helping people, I would be satisfied with my life, right? So I almost went back to Las Vegas to work at Northwestern Mutual, which not a bad thing if you work there. But I've heard it was a cookie cutter type thing, and my success odds were very low. So I went straight to home office at Raymond James, made absolutely jack squat, right? I'm not going to curse on your show, Patty G.
Nah, you do what you want, man. It's your personality, not mine.
But, I didn't make anything, but I learned so much of the industry with where I was at, of what's behind the curtain, the analysts, the economists, having lunch with the CEO, right? Things like that. It made me realize you can go one of two ways in the financial industry. You can be an analyst and get all your CFA, really study companies, determine what's going to happen in the market, or you can go talk to people. And spending 4 years in Baton Rouge, I kind of had that confidence, as we just talked about, of talking to people. And I knew I wanted to do that. So I decided, I'm going to be an advisor. Sure enough, a year later, Matt needed help and the opportunity was there. So I think my life experience kind of led me into it. And knowing that I wanted to help people. And again, the people here appreciate any help. And it's kind of the stars aligned. So it was just life experience over 20 years, right? Well, 33 years now, but yeah.
Who's counting?
Yeah.
Yeah. And my story is much more boring. But
you're a pilot. How can it be boring?
It's a hobby.
It's a hobby. My hobby's golf. I don't go flying aircraft.
Actually, flying has a lot to do with numbers, and so that's why it was very appealing to me, and not easy, but it just came a little bit more naturally to me. It's all about numbers, and when you're in the cockpit and you're looking at your instrument panel, it's making sure that all the numbers and the different gauges that you're paying attention to are within a certain range. And there's different ranges for different attitudes of the airplane, whether you're just taking off and you're ascending, or if you're at cruise, or if you're coming into land. There's different ranges for those different numbers on the different instruments. So dealing in numbers every day like we do, it just became kind of a natural thing. I'd always just been naturally curious about flying. I had a couple of friends who had their private pilot's license, and one of them one day took me up and gave me the controls at 4,000 feet, and I had no experience whatsoever. And of course, I'm white knuckling it, and he says, just relax, and almost like hold the controls with your tips of your fingers and just take a deep breath and relax. And after that, I was hooked. As soon as we got down on the ground,
this is so easy.
This is great.
I'm flying with 4 fingers. I'm over here.
Exactly. I don't even need to go through flight school.
Yeah, forget that.
Yeah,
let me take this thing
license.
up. Let's roll. Yeah,
exactly. So I did what anybody would do, and you scrounge together enough change under the couch cushions, and you buy an old beater airplane, and it's a little Cessna, 4-seater Cessna 172. And old plane. It's 40 years old. I don't have it anymore, but it was such a
plane to still be flying.
I'm sure we've seen movies on that.
Yeah,
kind of plane. Yeah.
I think I saw a documentary on Netflix about somebody.
Well, the engine
might have been
newer.
the same plane.
Right. He flew to Shreveport and back once. That was it.
Yeah. But I love investments, and I love how through proper uses of capital and through good, smart financial habits, smart financial decision making can lead to optimizing your life. And I don't mean that in a way where it might, I'm not implying that you can accumulate a lot of money so that you can buy stuff. That's really not ever what we preach to clients. What we typically preach to clients is to reach a point of total financial freedom so that you're not entangled in debt. You're not entangled by the world. And if you can reach that point, not only does it just give you a lot more peace in your life, waking up every day not entangled with the world, but when bad things happen, when unexpected events happen, economic events, market events, tragedies happen, perhaps they don't set you back. Perhaps you're able to continue on. We have a lot of friends, several of which have been on your show, who are local entrepreneurs and business owners here in town that thrived during COVID. Not necessarily from a business standpoint. Their businesses were closed down.
Yeah.
They were some of the first to close down. Dental offices were some of the first to close down. But because they had been almost preparing for that day, they didn't sweat it financially whenever they had to stay at home for 6 months. And I think that is the ultimate utility of money, is to get you to a point where you're not entangled with the world. No matter what crisis happens, you can handle it. You can absorb it, and you'll get through it. And perhaps you'll have to tighten the belt a little bit here and there and make some sacrifices, but maybe you don't. And I think that's the ultimate flex, is the ultimate freedom in your life. Perhaps that freedom is simply being able to choose your retirement date instead of the company you're working for choosing that date for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's a huge quality of life type of thing, right? So that's what I mean by the utility of money. We feel like it has a purpose, and it's not necessarily to just go buy more stuff or accumulate things. We're very close with our clients, and we have been to a number of funerals over the years for our clients. However, I've not heard a single eulogy where a person has congratulated the deceased over how much stuff they accumulated. We've never heard somebody talking on their deathbed about how much stuff that they accumulated or how proud they were to have worked so hard that they could accumulate things. The things that we hear our clients say is, what happened to all the time? We wish we could have more time. Not money, not things, not stuff, memories, time. And we feel like that's what the utility of money is it can buy you those things. And perhaps you can retire a little bit earlier and spend more time with your family, creating those memories. Ultimately, we think that's probably the most efficient use of money.
Yeah, having that freedom of time.
But it's still nice to tell a client every once in a while they can buy a lake house or something, right? You know, and it makes you feel good sometimes telling them they can do something, because their financial picture is not going to be broken, because you know that's going to create more time and memories for them.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so that's something they can't get back.
Yeah.
Right?
They're trying to figure out, to your point, how do we maximize the time we have here
Correct.
with those that we love and those that we want to spend time with.
Yeah.
You know, they don't want to spend all of their time worrying over, will they have time to spend? You know, it's like it can become almost painful where you're looking at everything and you just don't know, because they don't have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so it's by having a plan in place early on, or as early as you can look at it and say, yeah, we're going to be in okay shape.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to your point, we may have to tighten the belt a little bit, you know, not go to all these other places we wanted to go to this year. Let's just see how it comes back, and then let's follow the rise.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Well said.
Played.
Well said.
Took me all show to think about that.
Might have to use that one. I thought Kevin Burke was going to give us that.
I know, that's right.
He texted to me. I can't take credit. He texted to me on the way here. You know, he's in my ear, really. He's telling me what to say. But so what is on the horizon for you guys? Like, what's you kind of assumed a book almost quicker than you had anticipated,
Mm-hmm.
and you kind of moved to a place you hadn't thought of moving,
Mm-hmm.
but yet y'all are here. You're making it grow for some years now.
Mm-hmm.
What's next?
Well, we're still growing. We're definitely not taking the foot off the pedal in terms of growth. I think what's next is, and this kind of going back to the Rise name, part of the reason we chose the name Rise Wealth is everything we do embodies increasing, enhancement, elevate, do better, optimize. And so that's really all of the traits that we like to embody. And that's how we landed on Rise, was to be ever increasing, and not necessarily for our own business and the revenues of our business, but perhaps it's elevating our own knowledge and our own skill sets so that we can provide the optimal advice for clients. Maybe it's scrubbing all of the investment strategies to arrive at the optimal ones and be able to know when is best to use one versus not. And so everything that we do really has this end goal of trying to increase, to rise, to provide better, to provide more for our clients. So I think the things that are on the horizon for us are really to continue honing our skill sets, continue tightening our screws to make sure that we're always providing the very best advice to clients. We like to say that we provide sophisticated advice, but in a straightforward way, plain English way, that way when clients leave the meeting, hopefully, knock on wood, they actually learned something from our time together, because we do view a big part of what we do as educational. Which
was inspired by Bernie Madoff, by the way. the Netflix movie, as far as not educating his clients, and a lot of them had no idea what was going on. We're like, okay, this is a huge opportunity to educate clients, because if they don't know what they have and why, that's a problem, because it's their money, right? So again, Bernie Madoff inspired a lot of the business.
I'd like to go on the record. That was a hard left. That was a hard left.
That was a very hard left.
I know.
I'd like to go on record and say I've never
Nobody
been
saw that one coming,
by Bernie Madoff. For any of our clients,
I'm sitting here, he's going down a great path, and then Ryan's just like, yeah, Bernie Madoff made that happen.
It was a heck of a
That wasn't the rise. That was the demise.
How do you take something so dark and rise? Change it.
We love it. We love it.
Yeah.
We love it. Really, really great.
We were all thinking it, right? No.
Sure.
No, but it's out of all honesty. Yes, to Matt's point, educating clients not only on what they have and why, estate planning, taxes, right? If we can get in touch with their attorney or their CPA, we have a better understanding to educate them on how they all kind of intertwine, right? And that's what's crazy about our job, and that's why we love it, is you learn something new every day. And the tax code's changing all the time. The legal code changing all the time, financial regulations changing all the time. So we're never content on what we're doing today. And if we can enhance what we're doing for our clients, not only today, but tomorrow and for future years of the next generation, it's going to really, who knows what can come. But educating them on why we're recommending what we're recommending, so it's not out of just left field like that Bernie Madoff comment, that they understand, okay, this is what the value I'm getting from this, right? So it just kind of echoing what you said, but yeah, sorry about the Bernie Man.
If I could say it any differently.
If you had the chance to rephrase.
If I had the chance, I would say our focus is primarily, not only, but primarily on next generation and preserving legacy from our older clients down to their kids and grandkids. And that's something that takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of family meetings. Some folks are not as willing to open up about their finances with their family members. And so we want to help shepherd that process when clients want to do that. Because what we find is the values that it took for grandma and grandpa or mom and pop to accumulate the wealth in the first place, that's really what they want to transcend down to the next generation. They want the values and the traits. That's their legacy. And if we can shepherd that process in the form of financial advice, it really has nothing to do with the portfolio management. That's probably the last thing that we actually address in most meetings. Most of the focal point is helping clients transition their assets down to their heirs in an effective way, in a meaningful way. Perhaps it's preserving educational funds so that their grandkids will be able to go to college without the burden of debt. Perhaps it's setting up a donor advised fund in perpetuity, funding it into perpetuity so that that legacy of giving and philanthropic intent is always alive, no matter if the original donor isn't. because those are the types of things where you can assign your grandkids as the successor advisors on those donor advised funds. And so they are now making the decisions on which charities and churches are going to be the recipients of all of this capital. And it gives them a hand in that decision making, which again forms and carries on those traits. And I think there's a lot of value in there that I think that's one example that we can highlight and really place a lot of emphasis on the values and the types of traits that parents and grandparents want transcended into the next generations.
Absolutely. And they want to be able to see their kids living the life that they hope they would. Mm-hmm. And their grandkids also having that same lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And then you also have on the flip side, the parents that say, we want to just bestow it on the kids and have that lifestyle now and enjoy it with them. Mm-hmm. There's some folks that say we want to live the good life with them, and then whatever's left is whatever's left. But let's figure out, we'll do this for them, we'll do that for them, but we'll all do it together mm-hmm. in a way that we're all enjoying it.
Exactly. And I think a lot of those traits are the hard work and the work ethic that created it in the first place. Mm-hmm. And those are hard things to capture. They're intangibles that you can't put your hands on and touch, but they're absolutely applicable.
Yeah.
And so we talk about a lot of these things with clients. And as Ryan said, a lot of times we're financial counselors, and we try to focus on the psychology of money, which is actually a book one of our favorite books that we've read by Morgan Housel. Fantastic book. And it goes into the details of the psychology behind financial decision making, the fears and motivations, why we do things, why we don't do things, how we act in times of distress, and not calling people out on it, but just using financial psychology and behavioral finance to highlight why somebody perhaps might be feeling a certain way. As I mentioned earlier, during times of distress, when markets are in upheaval, a lot of times, and this is, I feel like, how we earn our fees is to coach them through that hard time. And ultimately, when we look back after we've gone through the choppy waters and we're on the other side of the storm, we didn't actually do anything. We didn't change the plan. We didn't jump out of the boat. We didn't abandon anything, but we stuck with the plan, but we didn't actually do anything. And I think that's the most common thing especially whenever markets decline 10 or 20% in short order, is people feel like we need to do something, when in fact, the best thing to do, not 9 out of 10 times, 100% of the time, is to do nothing. But you're not human if you don't feel like you got to do
something drastic.
Right. So we validate those feelings because they're absolutely legitimate and real. But it's our job to keep you from acting on some of those feelings.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's hard not to wonder yourself, sure. Is this going to stop going down? Right. I mean, the pandemic, it just seemed like every day was a drop, then a halt. And it's like, is this going to stop? But, it's one of those where the clients, like I said, behavioral investment counseling, understanding where their emotions are coming from, hearing their concerns. And if you didn't hear that before this, the market drop, you need to address that into their plan of, do we need to change the oil on the car, right? How do we keep the car running smoothly? Mm-hmm. And that's, again, where communication with their clients and having these conversations, it's just like this right here. It doesn't have to be a strict, hour meeting on the books once a year.
Right.
You can call us anytime. And that's the beauty of our job, is it's an open door policy. And as long as we're available, which we like to joke around and say Wall Street never sleeps. Sometimes we've taken calls on Saturdays or respond to emails on Sundays, because a lot of clients have a question and they don't want it to lose their mind and they're so emotional about it, what's an hour out of our Sunday to respond and put them at ease?
Yeah.
Right.
No doubt.
So it's interesting, but kind of going back to your original question of what's next, just enhancing what we have and making sure our clients are well taken care of. Yeah. And if we can service them and add the most value possible, that's for us success, because like I said prior, if we're able to help a family out and see them achieve their goals, we know we've done our job, right? Yeah. If the objective is to have little Johnny, who's 5 years old, go to college without any debt, and that happens, and there's still some left over, the conversation carries on, and we're very content with what we've done.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I'm excited to see y'all continue to grow and continue to rise to the challenges that come each day.
Thank you.
So I appreciate y'all coming on, but before we get you out of here, we have a set list of questions we ask every guest.
Okay.
Fire away.
What is something you did as a kid you wish you could still do today?
That's a good one.
That is a good question.
Probably run a mile under 10 minutes. I think you take it for granted, the ability of what you're able to do as a child. And then you start waking up, and I'm still young, but I have to stretch an hour before I play golf, and something like that, of just being able to run free and not have to worry about the pain or, understanding your body is, getting kind of break down over time.
It's got some limitations.
Yeah,
to it.
A little bit, right?
We can acknowledge that. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
But probably just something along the lines of just being able to run freely and not have to worry about it. That's a hard question.
That is a good question. I think for me, it would be combing my hair. Yeah. I really
miss those days, huh?
Miss those days. I know it doesn't look like it now, but I used to have just awesome hair, just long flowing hair.
That was the sell of being a pilot, right? You could feel it blowing.
That's right. That's right.
Sticking his head out the window.
He's sticking his head out the window and be like, just feel it,
Till a bird hits him. Yeah.
You can comb the beard, though,
We can get a toupee. It's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, it would be the safety net that you had of being able to go and try different things, whether it was being a young kid and you're involved in extracurricular activities, whether it's music or sports, and just trying different things, and it not matter if it didn't work out. I think that spirit of curiosity unfortunately dies with a lot of us over time, or at least fades. And I guess that's something that gosh, if I could rekindle some of that, I would love to, just to have more curiosity, or just do things without fear, do things without overthinking them.
Think outside the box.
Yeah.
Play outside the sandbox, as they would say, right?
Yeah. Your clients don't want to hear you say that, when you're talking with them. All right. So
got this wild idea.
Idea.
I'm not sure it's going to work.
I saw it on a documentary.
Yeah.
Hear me out.
We should buy a plane. You'll get your money back.
Well,
you won't. Yeah.
So doing what you have done for so long, and all of the ups and downs you've seen, moving to a new city at the cusp of COVID, and ultimately getting a book bigger than you had imagined. What's a lesson you've learned along the way?
The thing that stands out foremost in my mind is to serve with a servant's heart, and to always remember you're working with human people. I mean, you're working with individuals, and a lot of times you're working with their capital, which is an indirect sign of their career's earnings and life's work. And there's a lot of emotion tied up in that. And I think you have to have a high level of empathy, sometimes sympathy, and to really serve from a servant's heart.
That's a good one. I'd probably say enjoy every conversation you have with your clients. You never know when it's going to be the last, regardless of age, right? And you build these relationships and talk, whether it's every month, whether it's every other week, whether it's every 6 months, whatever it is. You enjoy these conversations, and sometimes you take them for granted and you forget how valuable that relationship is. So taking a step back and just enjoying the relationships that we've established, but just enjoying every conversation.
Yeah, no doubt.
To echo that real quick, I think something that else that came to mind that's just a kind of a cool byproduct of the work that we get to do is from the seats that we sit in with working with clients. A lot of our clients are older and they're either retired or retiring, and you really get to learn and you get to see firsthand a life well lived, and or perhaps a life not well lived, but either way you get to see almost the end result of a lifelong series of decision making, and you can really categorize a lot of folks, those who have a healthy system and a healthy decision-making system, typically end up in a better situation, health-wise, financial, social, etc. And as opposed to folks who don't. And so from our seat, we get to learn from that, and we get to see what the end result looks like well in advance. I mean, I'm still very young and he's a baby, as he mentioned. So, we get to see these things from a young age.
Still got to stretch at this age.
I know. When I bend down and both my knees pop, I'm like, I'm not this old.
Oh crap!
I'm
Can
not
I get
this
up?
old.
How serious was that crack?
Right.
Anybody else hear that?
When you bend down and people turn to look at you and you're just like, shh, that's fine. It's fine. And my wife finds out. I'm like, oh, it's every time. And she's like, you need to see somebody. I'm like, oh, it's fine. It's just popping. There's no real pain.
Tape and aspirin to
most
it.
Most of the time, it's okay.
Yeah. Grab the ibuprofen while you're up.
But now that you mention it. So you moving here, you've had to kind of learn our appreciation for what we've grown up in.
To an extent. My family's from Shreveport, so I came back every summer to Shreveport. Not that Shreveport's Baton Rouge, but to an extent. It wasn't as much of a culture shock, but yes.
That's like the upper north side.
I knew you were going to say that.
Is that like really...
I knew what gumbo was when I was a kid.
Okay, knowing what it was and growing up making it are two different things. All right.
I didn't know you
I knew what a slot machine was, but it doesn't mean that I could go up there and do anything with it, right? Like knowing what a... Okay, never mind.
Yeah, we'd be here all day, Patty G.
Yeah, okay. All right. So you're still in the boot, so we'll give you that.
Yeah.
We'll give you that. But nevertheless, y'all are both here now in Baton Rouge. What is something you love about Baton Rouge?
I mean, I'm echoing myself. The people, the food, just the grit of people, and seeing how almost old school it is in a way of, we're going to work for our food on the table. And that goes back to why I enjoy being here, is the relationships that I've established, not only with my personal friends, my ex-accountant and my partner,
Man, he made it out. He made it 70 minutes. 70 minutes before throwing the jab in there.
Fit it in. I was wondering if you
I had to.
didn't think he was going to get it in.
I thought we were going to get scot-free. Like, literally,
I'm throwing all
the second to last question.
I had to
He's
slide
just
it.
like, well,
I saw the kind of writing on the wall. We're getting done here, so I had to kind of slide it
see,
in.
I thought it was going to wait till the last question, which is, what can I do to help you? I thought that's when he was going to hit me with it. But he's anyhow.
No, we're not living in the past anymore. Honestly, just the relationships and the people, and seeing how hard people work, but how hard they live too, and enjoy life. It really, it's something you can't get anywhere else. And being somebody who is technically considered a transplant, right? I appreciate that more than anything. And it takes some time to get used to, but after a while, you go somewhere else, a big city in Houston or Florida, and you want to come back, right? So it's probably the people in the work ethic and just the attitude of people here.
The humidity. Yeah. That keeps me coming back. Just love it.
Well,
Just love it.
You don't have to worry about a bad hair day.
Well done.
Yeah, that was nice.
I feel like we've gotten there in this show. I feel like we've gotten to the point where that's an okay jab.
It was a good land. It landed. The plane landed on that one.
The plane landed on that one.
No, for me, I love what I've always loved about Louisiana is, especially in South Louisiana, is the philanthropy. And it's amazing to me. Mm-hmm. And as statistically as one of the poorest states in the country, we're also one of the most philanthropic. We give more to charity than most states do. And not just that, not just donating to your favorite 501c3 organization, but just individuals helping others, people helping people. Mm-hmm. I can't tell you how many examples that I've witnessed, and we've witnessed with our clients, of just handing out rent money and helping out and stopping what they're doing to help somebody in need, whether they know them or not. One of the coolest, and this is a shameless plug, I love to fish. So one of my best friends, Nick Robber, who was on your show, local dentist here in Baton Rouge, started Swole Fest, which is a fishing tournament down in Grand Isle, and started it 28 years ago as a junior in high school. And it was he and a few buddies started it, and it raised, I think, like $10 for American Diabetes Association. Fast forward, it's still going. It's still going now. They've donated millions of dollars to charity. And the reach, it is extended every year, every summer, every June. We get 850 to 1,000 people that come down. And it's just, a hot, sweaty, rednecky mess down there.
Of course. It
is an absolute blast.
Loves the humidity.
And people, the humidity draws people in. And people who aren't even from Louisiana, don't live in Louisiana, hear about it and travel there. And they give up their vacation time to come see it. And the amount of philanthropy, and you talk about people helping people directly. That's one of the coolest stories that I've witnessed, where 100% of the capital that is raised goes to its mission. There's no paid board of directors. There's no paid staff. 100% of the money raised goes to the constituents. It's incredible. And this is in tiny little Grand Isle, Louisiana.
Getting smaller by the year.
Right.
Well, way to kill that, huh?
But the impact
is getting larger by the year.
The impact is getting larger. And that's just what's so impressive to me, is the philanthropic inclination of South Louisiana. It's unmatched. It's awesome. It's inspiring.
Yeah. We love to help people whenever we can. Literally have seen people give shirts off their backs to help people. Like, it's that powerful. And it's all the time. It's not just when the cameras are on. Like, it's often, and most of the times when the cameras are off, or not present, when you see Louisiana folks helping Louisiana.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's truly powerful.
It is. It's very moving.
So for the final question for you, not for you, what can I do to help you?
Oh,
he would say my taxes. I know his answer already.
That ship has sailed.
That ship has sailed. There's further going in there.
Yeah.
He's just, the knife is in the side. He's just twisting it.
I didn't even get a reach out. I had to read it on LinkedIn. I thought we were closer than that.
That car's not turning around, Patty G. I'm sorry.
No, it's not. See what happened? I got locked out of my email.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it was.
It could happen to anybody.
Lost my phone.
Yep.
It's okay.
We've all been
I get
victim of technology.
All been there. Yep.
Somehow the LinkedIn worked, but everything else was broken.
Oh,
Don't have to explain.
what could Patty G do for me? Honestly, keep doing what you're doing. I think this is such a cool forum. You invite entrepreneurs in, and you get them to tell their story. You get them to talk about Louisiana. You get them to promote the capital area. You get them to talk about really all the things except their own business, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a testament to what you do, the spirit of your show, the folks that you attract. And I think we're episode, number 200 and what are we?
66? 267.
Yeah. So he's scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
We were running out of businesses.
Yeah.
We're on page 2 of Google.
He just felt bad for cutting the fat and kicking me off as a client. So he's like, well, let's just bring him on. And
they were getting desperate.
No.
Yeah, you were page 2 of Google. It's okay. Page where no one goes.
I didn't even know there was a page 2.
Exactly.
We don't scroll that far down.
No, in all seriousness, I think this is such a cool thing that you're doing, and it's a fun atmosphere. You attract a lot of very cool talent in here, and keep doing what you're doing. It's fun to tune in and listen to your shows.
Good. Glad to hear that. All right. Hit me with it.
All right.
Hit me with it. Come on.
One, thank you for handing me off to a great CPA. I really do appreciate that. Honestly, I think, I've told you this before we started working together on accounting side, but your show, it helps the next generation understand what's out there. And when I first moved back to Baton Rouge, I just came across it by chance. And it kind of helped me understand the people that are taking over Baton Rouge. And I mean that in a good way. But as far as trying to make Baton Rouge better, right? And it kind of gives you a guideline or a path to who to listen to if you want to make a change in Baton Rouge. And everybody has a story. It's just a matter of hearing it. And what you're doing is bringing that person's story out. And honestly, it's the best thing that you could be doing and giving back to Baton Rouge, of just letting people hear their story. Because going back to what we've talked about, we could see them in Superior and say, I heard you on Patty G. Congrats on that, or whatever it is. And again, they're not a stranger at that point. So I'd just say, keep doing what you're doing. It's making a difference.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I hang up the tax hat. So
there you go.
We'll go with that.
We'll go with that one. Yeah, we'll go with that one. Well, thank y'all both very much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
for
thank
coming
you.
in the
Fun.
studio.
Thank you.
This was a
Thanks for
blast.
having us.
And thank you, Kevin Burke. We'll give you a shameless plug there for
KB.
connecting us. I think the only thing that's left is for you to take us on your plane. I mean,
Absolutely.
I think that's what he told me, was like, that's like we slide in at the end, like, hey, catch us in the air on the plane.
Let's go for a ride.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go fly a plane. Y'all have fun and tune into the next week episode of the Patty G Show. We'll see you then.